A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
Let's turn our attention to the practice of prayer. There is an organisation working with churches to nurture the fact that simple acts of prayer, hope and kindness could transform everyday interactions right across this wonderful nation of Australia. And they're taking a new concept into public places. Rebecca McDonald is the founder of Prayer Nation, a non-profit movement to empower Christians to prayer. Rebecca, a special welcome along to 2020.
Thank you, Neil, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Rebecca, so often, isn't it, if no one's leading or no one's got a special role to encourage, we can miss some of these powerful interactions that impact people and communities around this issue of prayer.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly where Prayer Nation came from. I think we, as Christians, as individuals, we walk past people every day experiencing their worst days, and they don't know that we'd be willing to stop and talk to them and pray with them and pray through what they're going through with them. And so they just walk on in despair. And we miss a great opportunity where God could lead us to not only being there for somebody, but share with them about our faith, about the way that God works in our life, and just really be there to pray for them in that time that they need it.
Do you think it is the case, as I've reflected on this from time to time, one of the most powerful things you can do when someone's going through a crisis or a challenge or relationship difficulties, that when you pray a simple prayer, you bring the presence of God into the circumstances? Is that the way you see things?
It's the way I live it, definitely the way I see it. And we all know, I think everybody listening would agree, that prayer is extremely powerful and is real and it works. And we could all share stories of where prayer has impacted our lives, has changed the course of our lives. I could give you a dozen examples where prayer has significantly impacted or changed my life. And I just think that there's so much more opportunity for more of that to happen, and for us to step out of our comfort zones and also be open to praying with people that may never have been prayed for before or may not have ever asked for prayer before.
Okay, let's get into what's different about the prayer movement you are leading, that you've founded and you want to see spread right across this nation of ours. Going public with prayers. Sometimes we think of prayer as being something we keep to ourselves, or there's an intimate moment where we're sharing the burden with someone who's close to us, someone we know. You're talking about going public with these prayers, praying with people you've not even met before. How does that look?
Yeah, well, could I tell you how it started, where the vision came from? Would that be okay?
Yes.
Okay, so about a year ago, I was in the supermarket and I ran into a neighbour that I had, an old neighbour of mine, and I had shared with her before. I had prayed with her before. We were neighbours for about 3 years. And I saw her from a distance and I ran up to her. I was so excited to see her, and I gave her a big hug. And she immediately held on to me and she said, "Could you please pray for me?" I said, "Of course. What are we praying for?" And she said, "I've just put my son into a mental institution today." And sorry, it's bringing tears back just recounting it. She was devastated. She just immediately burst into tears, and I just held her there in the middle of the supermarket and we just prayed together. And I remember after we finished and we said goodbye and I went back to my car, I remember sitting in my car and I was overjoyed. And that seems like such a weird emotion to feel after something so heavy and so important. But I just felt overjoyed that God would put me right there, exactly where I needed to be in that moment where she needed me, and that she felt comfortable to say, "Would you please pray for me?" And I knew, I've later found out what an impact that had on her life. But at the time, I remember sitting in my car and I was just filled with joy and just elated that I could be there and be useful. And I remember God saying to me so clearly at the time, "Put this away and remember it." And I did. And I thought, okay, great, wonderful. And months and months, many, many months later, I had a situation where I was having a personal heartbreak. I had just broken up with my partner, and I was in a really bad state. And I was actually trying to get into the supermarket myself, just get my groceries and get out the door without running into anyone. I quite often run into people at my local grocery store, and I wanted to make sure I didn't run into anyone and just get in and out. Because you know what it's like when somebody says to you, how are you? And you're trying to keep it together. Yeah. You can't. And so I was trying to avoid that question. And I went into the supermarket, and straight away I saw somebody across the room that I knew. We'd known each other from cricket. She was a Christian, lovely lady. She immediately saw me, ran up, just like I had run up to my friend. And she gave me a big hug and said, so great to see you. How are you? Of course, I immediately burst into tears. And I said, I can't do this. I need to get out of here. I just needed to run. And as I was quickly trying to pay for my groceries and get out the door, she met me at the doors of the supermarket. And she said, you don't need to tell me what's going on. God knows what's going on, but I do want to pray for you. And I feel like I need to pray for you. And she gave me the biggest hug, and she prayed for me there in the doorway. And I remember getting into the car, and I was so broken and I was so upset. But God just spoke to me. He's like, now you know what it's like on the other side. You know what it's like to have to ask somebody, or you know what it's like to have to receive prayer at this very important moment. And he has continued this vision, and those kind of two moments were kind of my beachhead moments. And then many months later, God gave me the vision for Prayer Nation and what that would look like, and exactly how it would start to come together. And so Prayer Nation was born, and basically it's a movement to empower Christians to make themselves available to pray at any moment asked. And so we wear shirts, we have merchandise that tells people around us, people on the bus, people on the street, people at work, people in a hospital, that we are safe and that we're wanting to pray for them. If they are wanting it, wanting to talk to us, or wanting prayer, we're open to it.
You know what it is to receive prayer when you're going through your own crisis, and you are now taking that and you're saying, we need to pray for people. They need to have their problem or their challenge brought before God. And now this is so exciting, because when you're going public, taking it to the streets, taking it to the shopping centres, you mentioned that you've got volunteers that are going to be wearing branded hats and shirts to signal that they are available for prayer and for conversation. So how is this working in your community?
Yeah, so we're right at the beginning. So it makes a lot of sense that your Vision Radio, this is really the vision that God has laid on my heart, and we're really at the early stages. So we're in the kind of getting mobilized phase. So basically the way that it will work is that if you are signed up to Prayer Nation and you've bought a shirt or you've bought a hat or a bag or whatever you've bought, whatever you feel comfortable doing, on any given day, if you feel it's the right day for you, you put on a shirt and you go to the hospital, or you go to your workplace, or you go to school, you go to uni, wherever you're going today, but you feel like today's the day, you put it on and you go out into the community. And you're basically saying to God, I'm ready. I'm ready to be used by you today. Bring me the people. And you just go about your normal day, and maybe you'll be used by God during that day to minister to somebody and to share his word and to share a prayer with them or to talk through with them. And if you're not feeling it, you're having a bad day yourself, or you're just, not feeling it, then you don't put the shirt on and you don't do it. But I know people that are wanting to wear them every single day to uni and are feeling so excited about the opportunity that somebody would, know that they're a Christian and that they'd be telegraphing it to everybody, telling people that this is who I am, but also that I'm available for you. So just tap me on the shoulder and let's have a chat.
And so you've got a cap on, and it's got a little sign on there that says, I'm ready to pray for you. Or
exactly.
Do you know, what is the wording? Have you got the wording on these shirts ready to go? What's the wording that you've got on there?
The final shirts are still being worked through. We're actually testing them with different people at the moment. So because we're trying to build a movement that 15-year-olds feel comfortable doing, and 80-year-olds and everybody in between feels comfortable. So the way that we're designing the merchandise is that there's shirts and merchandise for 80-year-olds that would feel excited about wearing, and there's shirts 15 and 17-year-olds would feel excited about wearing. And they're totally different products. You can't, we tried to find kind of universal designs and it wasn't working. So we've decided that we're designing merchandise for all different age brackets and different types. We've even got running shirts. I was out one day walking and I just was really overcome by the kind of grief that people experience. And I was out walking and I was honestly sobbing. And it sounds really embarrassing. I'm like walking along the path and I'm just sobbing. And these running groups are just running towards me constantly. And I thought, wow, if somebody ran towards me right now with a Prayer Nation shirt on, I would stop them right now. I could use a hug and a prayer right now. And so I came home immediately and sent a message to our designer and said, we also need running gear. and that's exactly what it's like, right? Then they'll be known within their running team that they're available to their running team for prayer. And maybe they've never had those conversations before because it's never come up. But wearing the shirt will start those conversations.
What I love is that you can customise the shirt to whoever. You could put these shirts on young people, families, older people. Hey, how does your church feel about this? Because this sounds like just the most amazing initiative that's going to just give people an empowerment to be approached on the street by people who might want prayer because they are going through some circumstance, or they've got teenagers rebelling, or they've got someone going through a health crisis. It's going to open up so many doors.
It really is. The church has been amazing, actually. I've been just kind of taking the steps slowly as I've felt God leading. And I've started a not-for-profit before, and I've led it for a long time. And I vowed never to start another one. So I was a bit scared about starting another one, to be honest. But God's just really taken me step by step in this process again. And the church has been really supportive from the moment I announced that this is what I was thinking about. And I was holding it really loosely in case somebody else was supposed to lead it or somebody else would jump on and run it. But they've been incredibly supportive. And one of the things that they said from the beginning was, this shouldn't be a church initiative. This isn't a ministry of our church, that we really see this has global implications, and we don't want to limit it by making it a ministry of our church. And we want to support you, and we want to, help you and guide you. But we don't want to limit it, by making it an official ministry of the church. And I loved that. I absolutely resonate with that, because that's definitely where I see it going. And so, yeah, all the support, and they're right behind us. Our church community is a brilliant, large community, so it's been helpful.
Well, let's count this moment as a big expansion moment, because I know there'll be listeners who are very, very inspired by this. And no doubt on your website, you're going to be able to have some ideas. You might even have some merchandise that people can get with shirts or caps and things, but nothing saying that any church anywhere couldn't make their own T-shirts and their own caps in their own community and begin doing what you're doing. Is there any way that you want to contain this? I think you want to get it out as far and wide as possible. Would that be the case?
Yeah, absolutely. So people can go to our website and register, and we will have information sessions over the coming months. We've got one coming up at the end of February, on the 27th of February, so that people can join the information session, give feedback on the merchandise, give feedback on the types of training, because we're still trying to figure out exactly how much training people would want or need to feel confident to go and do this out in their lives. So we're trying to kind of just figure out these initial steps. But I really am praying that there are lots of people listening that want to be involved. And so the first step would be to go to our website, which is weareprayernation.org. And you can go there and sign up, and that way you'll have all the latest information as we grow, and you get in on the ground floor of this movement. And let us know, that you're interested and what you're actually interested in and how you want to be involved. Because mainly we want, first and foremost, we're asking for prayer. We know, obviously, we've been talking about how important it is, but there are people on this call that is their main calling. They will just want to add this to their prayer list, and I would appreciate that immensely.
No doubt this is really striking a chord with so many listening, because it's something you can do very easily. And so just to reinforce, there is that event, the 27th of February, mark that in your diary. There is a visioning workshop, and it's about getting feedback, and it's about, hey, what do you think we need to do? Can we do better? What can we do to better customize the sorts of things that will just empower and enable the body of Christ to do something significant in every church? A new movement. We like to hear that at the start of a new year, talking about a new movement, and this one is called Prayer Nation. To get that detail and to be part of that live stream that's happening on the 27th of February, you can do that at the website, weareprayernation.org. weareprayernation.org. Rebecca McDonald is the founder. She's the visionary. She's got this whole new initiative and she wants it to be happening in your church too. Prayer Nation, weareprayernation.org. Rebecca, thanks so much for sharing these things with us today on 2020.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.